the pharmaceutical industry, and we're not going to judge either because we need both. And basically, we've been using natural and pharmaceuticals in the future, and sometimes we don't need both, and we need to be very careful. So in Ufology 101, we're going to tell you that we still feel like you need guidance in education. And so we're doing that under the integrative medicine and how we are incorporating, especially in cancer patients. And my daughter is one, Ginger Theresa Faye Parrish, and she was married and has Ginger Bowers, and she has been educated in integrative medicine through the Human Genome Project, and having been given cancer as my child as she acquired it. So they have put her under the category of other. And there is a history here in ufology for the history of when we came and brought the cure for cancer, and it goes under the reverse engineering program and walks side by side with politics and religion is the medical field. So this is an overview, and we're going to ask integrative medicine and the federal government to help us with curing cancer and work with the American Cancer Society. And we're also going to educate ourselves with the American Library Association in an alliance. And integrative medicine, there's some doctors I met, and some that are in the Nordic region, and some people that are using, what do they call that? It's like integrative medicine, but there's tourism to go from one country to another for cosmetic surgery, but they're putting it under integrative medicine. And some of the doctors I met that are retiring from the Moffitt Cancer Center are they're really brilliant, and they've only done what they've done. So in cross culture and in the integrative medicine classes that we'll be sharing is educating people that the medical field has to retire at a certain age, and then they're looking for something to do as well. Now the federal government has their idea and program of how to assist all of us, and that is relatively a new field, I think, in my lifetime. But then everything in cyberspace and how we help each other and assist each other with sources is these are platforms that we can speak about in my business in broadcasting. And American Communications Online is to find out how we have new chapters in our own life, in our own story, because we are all the authors of our own life stories. So in Ufology 101, the integrative medicine may or may not appeal to all those at the conferences, and there should be integrative medicine conferences in the future where we have experiences of the medical field integrated with computers. And how you can think of that is we still need both, because excuse me, there's my children, they're in their 40s, but you'd think they're going on 8 sometimes. They're just having fun. But that's Ginger, Stephanie, and Angela in there. Lauren's down in near Orlando. Oh my goodness. But anyway, integrative medicine brings in Tampa, Florida, American Cancer Society, how we help people like the Hope House with American Cancer Society, and all the good things in the New Age community. But you bring in music and art, and we help the patients learn how to play music, and or at least listen to music if they can't, if some may want to learn. Artwork, we help those. And they brought in music for my daughter, art, and guess what? They brought in meditation. And practitioners of the what used to be old age, new age. There was a time when we wouldn't accept yoga, believe it or not, kids that are listening to this, in any type of field, much less medical field. But what was happening is, in a way, we were learning to help ourselves with what we almost would call health and medicine, but also the health and wellness field, and how we're moving forward with talking about this outside of this reality and getting people to use their imaginations to cure themselves. And looking at the Human Genome Project and DNA and what we're doing in recreating new hearts and new pieces of biological intelligence that can recreate itself, which we know it can. But then we get into the side where people of the empirical design on this planet don't really understand integrative medicine because they haven't lived through it and are paid attention to it. So at least right now, we're going to go with a guidance and have the federal government, where I live anyway, in America, to help us figure this all out and how we're going to design the future of integrative medicine for all, because that we've learned about the nervous system, neurological, and in the future how we're going into studying the various levels of consciousness, which also include near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and how we know the mind works, and going into extending life in the human genome and how our telomeres work, and then also how we can be more positive. And integrative medicine, the human potential movement, comes full in, is part of that. And that's where we get into meditation and how in Ufology 101, a lot of the speakers now in ufology have crossed over into integrative medicine, and how politics and religion and the medical field are all leading us around the world into cyberspace as well, and the need for communication in our computers and electronic devices, and 0-point energy in the future. That's probably going to be 50 years from now, but we got to connect the grid up. And all those that want to work and see that the grid of electricity for right now is extremely important. But sooner or later it will go by the wayside as well, just like fossil fuel. And wait, that shouldn't be in integrative medicine, should it? So that's a separate class on integrative medicine, so let's stop there. And I've just about got an hour corrected, so I guess I'm getting to the last part of Ufology 101, and that will be other. Just like my daughter was told, she's other. So we need to learn about there's no judgment on being different, whether hair color, the melanin in your skin, whether you're Italian or Mexican or German or all that, because when we get to the blood types and how we're going to heal ourselves and live longer and increase this ascension age and get into immortality, that I guess in the future, immortality may be in the category of what do we want when we leave this planet? Who are we? Why do we exist? And where are we going when we leave this planet? In Ufology 101, we need to ask ourselves all of that and then decide what we are going to put into our field of resonance and how we can speak and communicate with epistemology and phenomenology and cosmology and astrology and archaeology and anthropology and all the old schools that evolved into cosmology. And then we get into the future with the quantum physics, consciousness, and how we speak in various dimensions and energy, and how much of us is really outside of our body, inside our body, and how we're going to discuss our products and the future of patents and trademarks. Does that really count anymore? Because I'll tell you, what I used to do as a creator, co-creator on the planet, people would just see what I did and knock me off. And so really, I learned in America, even though we may say we copyright and trademark and we do our ISBN numbers and all that, it looks like even with Amazon and CreateSpace, we're going into Kindle. So there needs to be an other to catch all in Ufology 101. and where we learn about all that we call Earth's origin and not of Earth origin, our fiction and nonfiction, our planetary and interstellar, our various levels of the atmosphere, stratosphere, and keep going. So this is where we got to define categories, topics, keywords, and everything that we use in communications now, including movies, and how we influence the critical mass mind. Now, we have computers set around that are watching the energy around the planet, and you can see YouTube documentaries on that. And I'm going to be learning how to use YouTube because I haven't up to now, how to use Google, how to use Amazon, how to use these things in cyberspace, and then all the extra software that people are writing. And then we can also discuss the spacesuits that surrounded us and how we use them to come and go interdimensionally, and that there may be levels and dimensions and realms that we have in our psyche, but we don't know how to use them anymore. We lost all of that. So it's my understanding, or I should say it is my knowing, that we have always been, and we always have been. So many of us are going to talk about out of body, but reincarnation. And I'm working on that now in ufology, because you are going to see that those that have any outstanding thoughts may or may not have been programmed in virtual reality from space. But you need to know that they can do that and affect your thoughts and ping you if you are important enough to the state heads with those in satellite area, and those, how much do we have in the space race, and that was real. But we're going to rise above in some levels above the good bad, the light dark, the red blue, the left right, and get up into the oversoul or open mind, or find out what our souls really are. And everything up to this point has been assumption unless each individual has experienced it. Now, if you haven't experienced a UFO, it's okay. You can still be in Ufology 101. If you want to not be alone, this is part of our suicide prevention, is that we will be there. Now, it's very hard to get to each individual, or each person is a drop of the ocean. So we're going to learn to speak properly. And in the past, we've had great teachers like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, which I met and was aligned with Michael Jackson, and let me see who else I've met. I've not met Oprah, my husband did. I met President Reagan, I met President Bush on the political side. On the religious, well, I've met all kind of world preachers and teachers and evangelists on TV. And so television evangelism is very popular right now. And radio evangelism, and the ministry that I've had would be called a music ministry and a radio ministry. And we called this all together the Ascension Center Organization. And we used ACO, not LLC. And I put $100 once on something, but to make a name, but only be told by the city in Owensboro and by the state of Kentucky I didn't need it because I wasn't making any money. I had no income, but I had a website. So that's a long story of how we get involved with numbers that we don't need and file things because we want to be right, and we want to be real, and we want to be 3D in cyberspace. But I didn't need all that. So another part of the misinformation, disinformation, and information categories in the other is the fact that, do we need this and do we need that, and how much is affecting us? And if we make any money in our social media, let me know. But basically, they said we have to separate products from services. And that was the way the reality in America was set up when I was doing my research and investigation and going in and out of Dan Inouye's office when I was trying to learn how to do